What is the most bizarre thing you've caught yourself doing after your brain's autopilot misfired? I dropped my pants when going through TSAP. For those who fly in the super early morning, it can be rough. I purposely didn't drink coffee so I could sleep on the plane. I was on the security line and did the normal routine of taking stuff out of my pockets and putting them in my laptop bag. Then off with the shoes, placed on top of my luggage. Then off comes the belt as usual. Then of course when you take off your belt you take off your pants. Oh no, damn it. Put them back on and woofed for a moment as I finished up in security. Luckily not that many people fly at like 430 am. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I just did this a week ago. Took the belt off, unbuttoned, and started unzipping, and that SAC guy was like, "Oh, I'm gonna stop you right there. That's not really necessary." I felt like such a jack. Yup, been there, except I always take my shirt off after my shoes, so I did that instead. I started to unbutton my shirt and FFS, why was she attractive? If that lady was like, "Slow down sir, we just met." I didn't know they came with a sense of humor. Was jogging late at night. A guy reached out his hand in front of me as I passed. I high-fived him. Turns out he was hailing a taxi. I love that your natural instinct in that situation is to high-five him. You seem like a fun person. As a teenager, I worked at McDonald's. My McDonald's was 24 hours, and during the summer, I worked the overpass shift. My sleep schedule would get all messed up. My parents woke me up for dinner one evening. I zombie walked to the table and sat down. My dad asked me to say grace. I bow my head and say, "Thank you for choosing McDonald's. May I take your order?" I really want there to be a part 2 where you start saying grace at someone in the drive-thru. Rubbed after shaving my hair and put gel on my face. The worst part was that after I put the aftershave in my hair, I laughed at myself, thought, "Duck, what was all that about?" and then added the hair gel to my skin. You were already in too deep to turn back. After an 8-hour day of cashiering at Target, which has so many robotic small talk conversations, I stopped at the dollar store. The conversation went something like, "Cashier, hi, how are you?" Me, "But, how are you?" Cashier, "I'm good, thanks." Me, "That's good. Did you find everything okay today?" That conversation had to the effect of everyone in line and the cashier looking at me like I was psycho. Edit. I'm glad I'm not the only one who's done AWK things on cashier autopilot. And thanks for the gold. 3. I delivered pizza for Domino's and I caught myself multiple times at the customer's door saying, "Hi, thanks for calling Domino's. How can I help you?" Cup of coffee in left hand, phone in the right hand. Go to my room, take a sip of my phone and throw coffee on the bed. Edit. Grammar. Thanks for the gold. Can of drink has a couple sips left. Go get one between round changes in a game. Come back and put it there. Drink rest of can with one hand before sitting down. Throw full can at bin and wonder why I just launched my bin across the room with an empty can. I did something similar with a water glass and forgetting about refilling it. Tip the drink back at full force to get the last dregs. Yeah, no, spilt like half my water all down my front. I picked up my toothbrush to brush my teeth, but I also had the urge to piss, so I obviously tossed my toothbrush into the toilet. Edit. Gold. Yes, this feels good. THXMAT. After getting my toothbrush, I'll occasionally grab the deodorant instead of the toothpaste and stare at it for a minute while my brain tries to figure out how one is supposed to go on the other. Lol. Instead of deodorant I grabbed a flashlight and shone it over my toothbrush waiting for something to happen. Once I was laying in bed very tired watching TV. All the characters on the show piled into a car together and I thought for a second I forgot to put my seatbelt on before realizing I was safely in bed and nowhere near a car. Talk about immersion. I tried to mail my buddy a check and it had been a while since I mailed anything. Long enough to forget how mail works apparently. What I did was I wrote my name and address in the center and his name in the upper left hand corner. The letter then got returned to me. But still, my first thought wasn't, "Whoops, I failed at mailing this check." Instead it was, "Well, I guess this stamp is old and the price of stamps went up." So I put another stamp on it and sent it again to myself again. My mailman must think I'm tarded. I once wrote a card to my mum and gave it to my sister to give to her since she would see her on the day and I wouldn't. She accidentally posted it without thinking. On the front of the envelope it just said mum. I often wonder what the mail people thought of that one. When I was in high school and living on the family farm, I used to feed the horses and barn cats every morning. Waking up at 6 AM for this as a 16-year-old guaranteed that I was half asleep. So, I grabbed the cat food like I always did, walked to the table where my cat's bowl was like I always did, and poured some in. My cat always jumped up on the table right away to start eating right away, and one morning as something jumped up in front of me, I absent-mindedly pet it as usual. The hair felt a little rough, so I looked down and instead of my friendly orange cat, there was a skunk. Just chilling there eating the cat food while I pet its back. Smelly cat, why am I petting you? I just threw a knife in the garbage and washed some breadcrumbs, so I thought I'd ask. Edit. Also there was this one time I went along posting an Ask Reddit question just like normal, and in my absent-mindedness I forgot to uncheck send replies to my inbox, and then it got 14,000 comments. Whoops. Well, you don't want dirty breadcrumbs. Drove 20 minutes to my old house after I moved, was just zoning out. I lived in the same building my first 2 years of college. First day I was in a new place I ended up at the old building, and it took me 7 to 8 swipes to figure out why my key card wasn't letting me in. You're lucky I got off red eye and drove almost 2 hours to my old home, only to wonder WTF was going on when a guy pulled into the drive in front of me and went in the front door of my house. Had the dread that maybe my wife was cheating on me somehow and this was one of those come home early and catch her in the act. I'm devastated for a minute, then angry, then resigned to at least see it to conclusion. Then I realize I ducking moved a couple of weeks before. So I had breakfast at the old diner, then drove the hour and a half back to my new home where I caught my wife sleeping in. Night before last, I went to the backyard to bring the dog into the house. Autopilot moved my feet 10 or so steps out the door, telling the dog to come in. My brain then caught up and remembered the dog was in bed and I was indeed approaching a black bear that was eating watermelon rinds from the trash can. What was the bear's reaction? Honestly, not a whole hell of a lot. My shoot bear was decidedly not effective. He just stared at me while continuing to munch. Gladly, my more level-headed and awake other half threw me back inside and got rid of the bear. I used to work at McDonald's drive-thru 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, so I had been hardwired to say, "Welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you today?" Every single time I heard the headset beep. Straight up Pavlovian. One day there was a particularly wily fly that was always just a second ahead of me. I became very focused on killing this fly. I don't know how many times I said it before a coworker finally stopped laughing long enough to tell me, but it turns out I'd been saying welcome to McDonald's. How can I kill you today? To every car in the drive-thru. Not one customer even paused or acknowledged the fact that Ronald McDonald threatened them with murder. They just wanted their goddamn nuggets. I work at Sears. During a transaction one time, a guy was paying with a chip card when he asked me what time the store closes. I tried to say you can remove your card and the store closes at 9 o'clock simultaneously, which resulted in you can remove your clothes. Trying to get into a random person's car because I thought it was my friend's. The person whose car I was attempting to break into was very terrified. Co-worker of mine told me about the last time he went to the cinema. As he was walking out, he hit the remote unlock for his truck, then watched a few seconds later as a guy and his wife climbed into his vehicle. His was parked 2 stalls further down, was an identical vehicle, and the guy had hit his unlock at the same second and watched my buddy's lights flash. They shared a good laugh about it. The two that come to mind are while playing Xbox I got up to get a drink, then sit back down and can't find my freaking controller. I'm tearing cushions apart, looking under stuff, looking in drawers, etc. Turns out I took a soda out of the fridge and put the controller in the spot I took it from. The other one happened the other day. Drove home from work, parked, went upstairs, opened the door, started to take off shirt. Then I remembered it was the middle of my shift and I hadn't left to go home, but just go buy a drink. Whoops lol. What did you tell your boss? Sorry, I accidentally went home. Ducking subscribe to Reddit throne. Ducking subscribe to Reddit throne.